the local transmission of the Delta variant in the country. The capital region joins 4 other provinces in GCQ with heightened restrictions. These are Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, Davao de Oro, and Davao del Norte. Children aged 5 to 17 are also prohibited from going outside again until the end of the month. The health department said earlier today that clusters of COVID-19 cases were detected in northern Mindanao and in Antique in Visayas. Investigation is ongoing for other local Delta variant cases. So far, the DOH has reported 47 Delta variant cases in total. Only 8 remain active. The government has also included travelers from Thailand and Malaysia to the list of those banned from entering the Philippines. This brings the number of countries in the Philippines' travel ban to 10. Now, how did the market react to the reinforced restrictions? Well, to sum it quickly, not good. So much so that shares declined to the 6,400 level earlier today after slumping by as much as 1.8%. But those losses were tempered a bit right before close as the main index ended the day at 6,520, lower still by 0.9%. That snaps its best rally in 7 weeks after rising by 1.6% yesterday. Beatriz Lopez of Regina Capital said in this morning's broadcast that it's natural that there would be some fears over the Delta variant cases popping up, but she says that vaccination and vaccine efficacy against the more infectious variant might offset those fears. Now, Japet Anchanco, Stocks Financial, says there's a big possibility that the economic recovery will be delayed if local cases rise again and we return to stricter quarantine. Bangko Sentral Governor Ben Jokno himself said the country's economic recovery is in limbo over the more transmissible variant. Despite the scare, overseas investors turned net buyers today with purchases at 4.4 billion pesos. That is their highest purchase since October 2020. Quite a number of stocks ending the day in the negative following these developments. Casino operator Bloomberry is the day's worst performer, slumping by 4.5%. Mall operators SM Prime, Ayala Land, and Mega World also slipping in today's trade. On the upside, though, you have ICTSI still managing to cop some hefty gains here, increasing by 2.5%. Same with Aboitiz Equity Ventures, Emperador, and Aboitiz Power, all gaining at least 1%. Now, here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on. The Bangko Sentral has ordered popular app Laika to stop its operations as an operator of payment system or OPS. Laika allows its users to purchase, exchange, and use gift cards in electronic mode as payment for goods and services. The Bangko Sentral said these activities make Laika an OPS, hence it is required to register with the central bank before it can continue its operations. The BSP said the operators of Laika, a social media platform launched here in the country by a Hong Kong-based firm, expressed willingness to register as an OPS. The Finance Department addressed concerns on the country's swelling debt to finance COVID-19 response, saying borrowing is needed to cover the budget gap. Finance Chief Sonny Dominguez says the pandemic forced lower collections, prompting the government to increase its borrowing. The government mapped out a borrowing program amounting to 3 trillion pesos to fund vaccine purchase and COVID-19 containment efforts. Outstanding debt is expected to reach an all-time high, close to 12 trillion pesos. The government is looking to expand its debt servicing this year to 1.8 trillion pesos. It was able to widen its debt repayments in the first 5 months of the year by around 22%. Now, to talk more about this, to talk more about this issue, we have on the show Rene of Reneo, President of Freedom from Debt Coalition. Good afternoon, Sir Rene.
Sir.
Okay, we'll try to at least.
Picture.
Yes. Well, we'll try to at least carry on with this conversation. I know you're having problems with your connection, but based from that report, As of May, at least, the country's debt has already ballooned to more than 11 trillion pesos. That widened by 3 trillion pesos from pre-pandemic figures. Has that level of borrowing achieved its purpose of at least addressing the fallout from the health crisis?
Well, actually, it's time for the government to do some serious rethinking about this program of recovery. Because if you notice, after Bayanihan 1 and 2, the government stopped supporting a third round of stimulus called Bayanihan 3 or Arise by some legislators. And the reasons are obvious. Uh, Deficit going down, and yet overall earnings of the country uh, also down. And so you have this problem of sustainability of debt. And so you have this the downgrade by Fitch and Moody's. And then the announcement the other day by the Bureau of the Treasury that they're able to borrow locally, but higher interest. So the big question is how sustainable is the situation, the economic situation, and that's why what we are suggesting. It is really time for the government to rethink its development program.
Mm-hmm.
Borrowing is not a problem so long as you have a sustainable economic growth pathway. But if if your borrowing cannot support growth, only deep borrowing, then you have a very big problem, similar to what happened in the 1980s,
Well,
1990s, and
mhm.
three lost decades for the Philippines.
Well, Sir Rene, I mean, we've heard from the finance department. They did mention that borrowing would somehow offset our losses due to a local election here. What then should be our option if not borrowing? What resources do we have to address these recovery efforts?
Well, actually, I can understand the difficult financial situation facing Ben, Jokno, and Dominguez, and Kachua. The point is, the framework is very conservative, meaning they're assuming that they're just borrow, and then they're assuming the economy will automatically grow as long as they calibrate the opening up of the economy back to the old normal. But you see, uh, we are now in abnormal situation. The world is in abnormal situation, and so when you come up with proposal like open up the economy to foreign investment, they are not coming. You open up to import, but there's no offsetting export offensive. That is you immediately you have some. How can this be sustainable? What's happening in so many countries is they try to reassess their situation. They try to preserve what they can preserve locally. For example, we have to strengthen local agriculture instead of just opening it up.
Mhm.
We can the health sector last year provided a window for development of our this uh, industry producing health materials like face masks, even ventilators, which can be
Mhm.
produced by our local auto car assemblers. And yet,
Mhm.
the Department of Health gave it up. And then we have to look for new areas of growth. We
Mhm.
cannot
Okay.
just bank on the old. You
Well,
have
Sir
seen
Rene,
how the
there are other
yes,
pressing
sorry.
concerns at the moment, of course, especially now you have the detection of the more transmissible Delta variant. I mean, higher restrictions at least are in place already in NCR and nearby provinces. and there's a possibility of those restrictions being extended. By how much do you see this worsening the death pile, especially if there happens to be a case surge rather due to the Delta variant?
Yes, it will worsen the situation, but it should not be the end of the world for us. I think that's precisely what I'm saying. This is a challenge to the technocrats and then policymakers rethink, re-strategize, and
Mhm.
specifically, we are proposing uh, why don't you tweak this build, spending so much on big infra projects with the support of government budget and with the support of ODA. Why
Mhm.
don't we channel our resources to rebuilding uh, urban poor communities, the communities of the poor people, where you have this. In fact, there is the danger of this uh, rapid spread of the virus because they're living in congested areas. But if you look at these communities as a focus of reviving the economy, meaning you you your more resources to make them COVID proof, make them climate proof, to make the communities alive. By you have this Bayanihan
Mhm.
program, uh, this community pantry you transform into a community in all around
Mhm.
community kitchen, and then you have this barangay health. Can you imagine you simulate them? And this just what I'm saying is not new because it's similar to what Franklin Roosevelt did in the 1930s.
Mhm.
Instead of just relying on big business, Roosevelt used the government resources to hire millions of workers to rebuild public infrastructures needed by the poor: sewage, sanitation, pathways, rural electrification. It's all in the.
Mhm.
You can look this up in the
Okay.
Wikipedia and other the internet. But you see, why should we always look at the things that are outside of our
All right.
control?
Okay.
The
So it's
domestic
all
markets in
about
the
properly
yes.
channeling resources this time around. Again, thank you very much for your insights, Rene Freneo, President of the Freedom from Debt Coalition. Thank you, sir. And those are the biggest stories this trading day, July 23, 2021. Catch Business World Live again Monday next week at 9:30 a.m. for the market open. And one news is special coverage of President Duterte's last State of the Nation address at 2:30 p.m. I'm Jess De Los Santos. We are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.
July 26, 2021, the President will deliver his SONA one last time. One News brings you the complete coverage of this year's SONA, from the pre-event talks to the post-event analysis. Know what his administration did in the past 5 years and what needs to be done before his term ends on The Duterte Years. Broadcast starts at 2:30 p.m. here on One News.